Crossovers are without a doubt one of the coolest things your little brain could think of. I mean, everyone loses their mind at Fortnite, and I just heard they're going to add your uncle in there sometime soon. It really is cool to see games cross over, your favorite TV shows, you name it. A lot of times, though, these crossovers don't really hold weight in the stories and worlds that they're presented in. What if I told you that there exists a comic book that sparked a reboot that not only changed the whole series, but was just the beginning of the end of a whole series entirely? Sonic and Mega Man are two popular blue guys that held a very popular spot in Archie's video game comic library. Sonic's comic ran from 1992 all the way to 2016, and Mega Man's ran from 2011 all the way to 2015. Die-hard fans have generally positive things to say overall about both series, but the biggest accomplishment that these series did was bring the two together for this massive crossover event, and it worked well. The first time. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is ShrugPod, and today let's dive into two beloved characters in their comic book series and discover the crossover that killed a comic. Sonic. That's the whole video. Roll credits. Sonic's time in the comic book sphere has been mostly positive outside of a few major things, but to put it simply, his biggest and most well-known comic was published by Archie Comics and ran until 2016, when it was inevitably canceled. As it stands, Sonic's Archie run holds the record for the longest-running comic book based off of a video game ever. At a little under 300 issues, it stands proud as a very large part of Sonic's history. Because of the success of the main story, it spawned multiple spin-offs, with different characters getting their own time to shine with Tails, Princess Sally, and Knuckles' lengthier series. Archie also published the Sonic X and Sonic Boom comics, along with having an anthology type of series with Sonic Universe, which explored the many other characters in the world. To say that Sonic's comic history was a success is an understatement. Lore from all over the franchise, bigger and better stories each new arc, it was a lot of fun. But Sonic wasn't the only video game character to get this type of treatment. Mega Man was Capcom's hit platformer that swept the world with his multitude of colorful characters, simple design, and rage-inducing gameplay. I am a fiend when it comes to this game. The story of the games, however, was very simplistic, as the original series didn't have much in terms of plot later on. Mega Man did receive a manga series called Mega Man Megamix and Gigamix that told their more dramatic interpretations of the plot to certain games, but that was about it. However, Archie announced in 2010 that they had obtained the rights to the Mega Man comic series and were going to begin publication in the following year. Mega Man's comic run held 55 issues and was held highly by fans. It expanded on the universe and was a very fun look into a series that I held fondly already, so it was another win for me. Both Mega Man and Sonic had pretty successful comics at the time, but if you know anything about these two series, it's that all good things must come to an end. And if you know anything about the Sonic comic series, just please bear with me. The two series were inevitably canceled and left as nothing more than two great parts of these massive franchises. Again, if you know anything about these comics, then you probably are aware of some of the laundry list of issues of why these series got canceled, especially the Sonic comics. Many artists and writers have come forward saying that they don't think that it was just one specific reason for the cancellation, but a ton of different issues that culminated together. But where did a lot of these issues arise? Well, I think a lot of it started with one of the two series' biggest accomplishments, Worlds Collide. In spring of 2013, Worlds Collide began its 12-issue publication across Mega Man, Sonic Universe, and the main Sonic the Hedgehog comic. Each month, the three series would release one part of the story leading into the finale. The thrill of those few months for me were insane. But before we get into the main story itself, I've got to provide some background to each respective series very quickly. In Sonic the Hedgehog issue 225, Eggman used something called the Genesis Wave and altered reality and committed very serious crimes. Upon Sonic fixing that, he returns home to his girlfriend, becoming a robot, and Eggman is a total bum still, and he still commits crimes. This leads into Sonic's world dealing with loads and loads of issues trying to save Sally on top of other things that are going on in the Sonic universe. Basically, a lot of things are happening at this point in time that are a very big setup for later on, and a lot of them were really cool. This was like peak writing at the time. I just really enjoyed everyone just kind of being angry all the time. Mega Man's story has Dr. Wily in hiding, working on his next plan with this ancient machine known as Raw Moon, along with Mega Man's brother Blues, and he's Breakman, and he causes this ruckus in issue 23. Essentially, also crimes, but this one is terrorism. Both series have a segment where the world turns to white, and it leads into the main crossover. All caught up? Great! Because this crossover starts off with Mega Man and Sonic fighting. What do you mean they're fighting right at the beginning? We are told that due to a Chaos Emerald landing into Mega Man's world, Dr. Wily acquires it and forms a contact with Eggman. The two then decide to work together to not only rewrite their worlds with the help of the new Wily Egg machine inside of the Skull Egg Zone, but they also want to defeat Mega Man and Sonic forever, but that's their whole thing. To do that, Eggman and Wily capture Sonic's friends and turn them into roboticized masters to gather the Chaos Emeralds. So there's a team up, all of Sonic's friends are now evil, and now Sonic and Mega Man are fighting. Great. Oh, and the doctors used each of the heroes' robotic counterparts to kind of trick them into fighting. That's why it all started. Forgot to mention that. Luckily, that doesn't last long due to Dr. Light assisting Mega Man into tricking Sonic, which blasts the blue blur into the blue bomber's homeworld. I just don't really want to say Mega Man and Sonic in every single sentence, so just bear with me. After some discussion and saving citizens, Sonic and Mega Man ultimately defeat Tailsman and deduce that the doctors fooled them both. They are tight now. After the team-up is formed, they head back to Mega Man's home and arrive just as Bass and Metal Sonic have kidnapped Dr. Light and taken him back to Eggman and Wily. Oh no! This fuels the heroes to team up and take the fight straight to the villains, ending part 1. This crossover is split up into 12 issues, but can be split up into 3 big parts. The first part is Mega Man issues 24 and 25, along with Sonic the Hedgehog 248 and Sonic Universe 51. This is pretty much the setup and entire Mega Man and Sonic fight. The second part is what we just entered as the team finally makes it into the Skull Egg Zone. The issues for this include Sonic Universe issues 52 and 53, Sonic the Hedgehog 249, and Mega Man 26. You can also tell a pretty distinct split due to the artists who take over as well, with Jamal Peppers doing part 1, Tracy Yardley handling part 2, and Ben Bates handling part 3. Patrick Spaziante doing all of the covers is just perfect. I mean, look at these things. They're beautiful. Part 2 begins, and right away, our heroes are met by Copy Robot and the Genesis unit, leading them right into danger. This issue also serves as setup for Mega Man's ally Duo to come in as support, which is just fantastic because I just love Duo. We also get to see the cracks beginning to form in Eggman and Wily's partnership due to their egos not being able to get along with one another. The heroes defeat the Genesis unit, as well as having a reference to the Sonic OVA. Big win. I love that. This whole second part essentially becomes a Mega Man game being adapted into the comics, which is something that the main series comic did spectacularly. Mega Man, Sonic, Tails, and Proto Man are just trying to free Sonic's friends and using the whole weakness mindset to stun them and turn them to normal. It's honestly when this crossover hits its stride, with things like Sonic and Mega Man discussing the Chaos Emeralds, Eggman and Wily discussing their own versions of Shadow Man, and seeing the Chaotix team up with Proto Man. The whole concept of a Chaos and Yellow Devil Frankenstein monster is just really spooky. Also makes no sense if you try to think hard about it, so just don't. It becomes even more fun when Mega Man and Sonic share similar experiences, but it seems really organic. I mean, half of this is just references to both series and their games. It's kind of expected, but it doesn't really feel super forced to me. I really love the characterization that both of these heroes get as well, because Tails even mentions how similar that they are, but Sonic's ego just gets in the way sometimes. I think Archie, Sonic, and Mega Man writing is really done well, mostly, but they really hit the nail on the head with this one. After freeing most of the roboticized masters, we see that Rouge is trying to help stop the bad guys and uses the help of Dr. Light. We can already see that Wily and Eggman are planning more and more to betray the other, so it's not hard to see that the other doctors are pretty much the reason that they're both failing. Even hateful, they're still formidable. Their whole bit of confidence shatters when the two discover that all the roboticized masters are toast, Rouge was borderline successful in sabotage, and that the Chaos Devil is indeed loose. Oh gosh. While they may have had a slight setback, their efforts into bringing back all the robot masters is still intimidating. There's a lot of these guys. After a quick reveal that Duo is closing in on the battle, we finish part 2 into part 3. Part 3, in all honesty, is some of the best stuff I've read in either series. It is non-stop action and craziness, and I am all for it. It is just so good. Part 3 is Sonic the Hedgehog issues 250 and 251, Mega Man issue 27, and Sonic Universe 54. One cool detail about these crossovers is that they either have or recently had a milestone issue that made it feel a little bit more special. Sonic Universe 50 came out just one issue before the crossover, but Sonic had its 250th and Mega Man had its 25th issues during the crossover that made it just a tad bit more fun. You get these cute little covers with Sonic and Mega Man on them. Mwah. They're besties. Part 3 begins with our heroes versus this massive battle against almost every robot master that Mega Man has ever faced. Look at this spread! It goes in this crazy all-out brawl where the goal is to last as long as possible because the robot masters can just keep returning. That's kind of the whole all-time thing right now. Blaze overpowering the Fire Masters, Tails versus the Wind Masters, Knuckles fending off the Stone Masters. Everyone has their enemies and gives it their all. Sonic looks to be right in his element by truly keeping everyone right in the dust. They had these little moments and little panels of Sonic just running around, and these interactions with the people that are just too slow for him. It's just really, really nice to see. While Sonic and Mega Man ultimately decide to make their way up to the evil base, the doctors are just enjoying the chaos. While Wily continues to watch, Eggman decides to take actions into his own hands. You see, these past few issues, Dr. Light has expressed that Eggman and Wily being foiled by their heroes has done good because the two geniuses failed to see the scope of their own plans. Without their heroes, destruction or worse consequences could have arisen because of their hubris. Dr. Light has repeatedly been able to assist Mega Man and Sonic in and out of captivity, and it was Light's earlier actions of creating that first portal that turned the tides right at the beginning. Maybe Sonic and Mega Man would have found a way to talk it out, but Dr. Light changed the game with just one action. So Eggman does as he sees fit, ridding himself of Dr. Light by throwing him out of the Wily egg. Oh my gosh! You see, the biggest difference between Wily and Eggman, especially the Archie version of Eggman, is the respect of humanity. While Eggman has been known to treat Sonic with respect, that doesn't stand true for just regular people. He had no issue with throwing Dr. Light to his death because there was no benefit to him. This Eggman in particular is a formidable version, while this Wily still has a sense of humanity and guilt that holds him back from doing anything crazy. We get to see that later on down the road in the Mega Man comics, but this Eggman is just the worst guy. Mega Man pleads for someone to save Dr. Light because he simply can't catch up in time. Even Sonic and Tails don't think that they can get there in time. So Dr. Light keeps falling and falling, accepting he's done. He's gone.
Chaos Control!
In a flash of light, the Shadow the Hedgehog fans keep on winning. Shadow the Hedgehog saves Dr. Light and returns to the battlefield, bringing him to safety. Now, Shadow has been an interesting topic during this crossover because he just seems a bit more brooding than normal. His interaction versus Shadow Man and discussing with Sonic afterwards seemed a bit unusual to me. But this was honestly very on brand for him, being someone that will do the right thing. Wily sees this happen and has lost all hope of a partnership with Eggman. Besties no more. A massive divide between the already two frustrated doctors. As Dr. Light connects back with Proto Man and gets in contact with Mega Man and Sonic, the heroes collect themselves and head into the final act, the Wily Egg. Upon first entering, they are met with this first battle against the Mega Man killers while we see Duo slowly on his way into the battle. While in the fight against Ballade, Tails face tanks a bomb and is ultimately down for the count, so it just comes down to Sonic and Mega Man. It may have been for the best as Sonic and Mega Man fight the Chaos Devil. He's a scary guy. The two struggle but then are saved by Duo, allowing Sonic and Mega Man to head right into an even fiercer fight against Metal Sonic and Bass. These last two issues are just 10 out of 10. They're perfect. I love them. Tensions are high, stakes are higher, and the overall energy for our heroes is low as they continue to fight the same robot masters over and over. Sonic and Mega Man are locked into this grand battle against two fierce rivals, going from the typical swap-up to coming together and showing off why this team-up is elite. They even show off the motif of Mega Man going through each weapon he's obtained, like true Mega Man fashion, having to use each weapon against the bosses he just beat before the finale. You know, I wonder how close we are to the finale. Oh, it's here! Wily and Eggman capture Mega Man and Sonic, revealing that the doctors are going to erase the heroes from existence. Oh wow. They want to rebuild the worlds and cause more issues to the two universes and rid themselves of their heroes. They have all of their adversaries cornered and handled. There really is victory in sight, until the original Robot Masters arrive on the scene to help, giving Proto Man, Dr. Light, and Knuckles an out to assist our blue guys. While Sonic and Mega Man struggle, Sonic questions Eggman with his concern that more Genesis waves will break the realities, while Eggman explains that the Super Genesis waves will render the damage caused by the two doctors as null. It still leaves a looming sense of dread. Knuckles and Proto Man distract the doctors while Dr. Light frees the heroes and urges Mega Man to activate his super adapter with Rush. We see more dysfunctional interactions between the two doctors as, while they're fighting Knuckles and Proto Man in their dual machine, it's shown that the two have sabotaged each other. All of that doesn't matter, as the chaos drive within the machine allows the doctors to have a maximum capacity superbot in activating the Super Genesis wave, but it also allows for an incredible dual team-up of Super Sonic and Super Mega Man. An all-out brawl for the fate of the universe ensues as the duo attempts to hurry and defeat the doctors before time runs out. One awesome team-up shot later, and the two quickly work on using Chaos Control to save the day. but with one frustrated Eggman, he flings his robot and disrupts Sonic's chaos control from fully fixing the world. Mega Man's world gets saved by the help of Sonic's tutelage, but our hedgehog fades to white, unsure of what happens next. This crossover's fantastic. From the very beginning, it starts off good and slowly gets better. Heck, some of my favorite issues from all three of the respective comics come from this crossover. It also helped a lot that I adored Sonic and Mega Man, so I was very invested in both universes already. I think that Archie has some weird characterizations of some characters, and there's a little bit of that here, but overall I really enjoyed the little interactions of Sonic and Mega Man. I think they were both done really, really well. It seemed like a very genuine interaction and like that this would actually happen in a game. This era of Sonic and the comic and the Mega Man comics overall are both held highly by their fan bases in terms of the character writing. This crossover deserves all the love it can get. If not a game, I think that this is truly the perfect story for these two franchises to cross over. So obviously, I've been giving this story a lot of love. From top to bottom, I think it's fantastic and so worth the praise. It's honestly a dream come true. So why did I title the video like this? Why did something that was received well and sold really well and is still beloved to this day, the reason that a comic book was killed? Well, I think it was more so the catalyst event to the end of these two series. While Mega Man saved his world, that was not the case for Sonic. Issue 252 of Sonic the Hedgehog and issue 55 of Sonic Universe began a soft reboot of the franchise. This is due to some legal issues involving a certain writer that I'm not going to get into, but it's the biggest reason for this decision. So remember all of those plot points meant for the setup? Well, they're all gone. Fan favorite characters having arcs that would completely remold them, new villains threatening to return, new horizons, all of that vanished with just one move and one petty dude. A silly goober, if you will. It's also worth mentioning that reboots are used as devices to allow readers to hop into the story with very little knowledge and continue reading from there. That is just simply not the case here. This new version of the universe is more based off of the game, so Sonic remembers things in a different way. This leads to Sonic getting his pals to remember the other world before the Super Genesis wave, implying that to get the full effect of why Sally's so distraught and why these characters are so confused, you have to know what happened prior to this. I will say that it's very clever to use this instance of the world being broken up by Eggman into a semi-adaptation of Sonic Unleashed. I kind of enjoyed that. They do this later on with adapting games like Sonic the Fighters, which is kind of also neat. But with the comics now based off of the games, not only are the plot points gone, but a lot of fan favorite characters are gone as well. Of course, they kept the game characters, but the only characters that stuck around in the comics that weren't originally from the games are the ones from the shows, making the Freedom Fighters, Ixis Nagas, and Snively still prevalent. But what's going on back in the Mega Man comics? Well, it picks up right back where it left off with the attack from Breakman and the setup of Raw Moon, who disables Rock and the rest of the world's robots. Oh, more terrorism. Breakman also shot Roll. That's kind of important. This story is one of the best in the whole comic, and it was great to see it happen fully. In fact, this happened because of the crossover itself. Ian Flynn has been quoted saying that because of the sales of Worlds Collide, it actually boosted the sales of Mega Man, even saying it's one of the main reasons we have the comics still today. Mega Man even got to have a small story with Mega Man X as well, just a few issues later. While the Mega Man comic got closure with its stories, fans became disappointed and jealous knowing that the change in the Sonic comics was permanent. How did they remedy this disappointment? By giving us the Sonic Boom comic. Jokes aside, the Boom comics now ran alongside Sonic Universe and Sonic the Hedgehog for just a little bit. This, however, didn't really seem to boost sales at all. After Worlds Collide, the team saw that the sales have doubled, but for the Sonic crowd, I assume that sales dipped pretty quickly heading into this reboot. Now, this isn't official, I'm also just theorizing here, but I'm guessing that the financial aspect led into the decision of greenlighting another crossover dubbed Worlds Unite that had Sonic, Sonic Boom, Mega Man, and Mega Man X crossover with loads of Sega and Capcom reps. This time it was printed inside the main series of Sonic and Mega Man, Sonic Boom, and Sonic Universe. So surely, it worked the first time, so it can work again, right? Well, just like the hubris of Wily and Eggman, we also got to see the hubris of the Archie Comics team happen here. It was not great. To save some frustration for maybe another day, let's just say that outside of a few funny panels, because there's some goofy ones, Worlds Unite was not really good. It did get to show off some less notable Sega and Capcom reps, but overall, it felt kind of useless. Also, Amy and Mega Man got to talk to Chicken God? Because of this massive crossover, you could already smell the licensing fees adding up. Now, that's not to say what happened next was completely this crossover's fault, but it was probably one of the main reasons. It was announced in 2015 that Mega Man Issue 15 would mark the indefinite hiatus of the series, and it's theorized that this was due to a financial issue in Archie Comics. I wonder what that could be. This probably led to the inevitable cancellation of Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic Universe, and Sonic Boom as well. Imagine, Sonic Boom didn't do well. Sonic's cancellation had more problems behind the scenes as well, on top of the already prevalent legal issues that Archie had to deal with, like total sales dipping due to lack of interest, rumors of Sega wanting more money, and some claiming that Archie wanted Riverdale to be what represented them and not their licensed comics. So Sonic at least got to finish off its current story arc, and Mega Man got some form of closure, and they were left to collect dust. Sonic was handed off to IDW, and now Mega Man's fallen into heavy obscurity. I just want a new game. It's safe to say, while this situation isn't ideal, fans can at least remember some of the highest highs of these series. Now, some of you may be watching and thinking that it's more reasonable to say that Worlds Unite was the thing that killed the series, and I would say that's a fair thing to claim. While the first crossover may have redeemed Mega Man, the second one definitely put it in the grave. But for Sonic, however, as soon as Eggman ran into Super Sonic, things were never the same. I think that as bold of a claim it is for me to say that Worlds Collide killed the Sonic comics, I should probably say that I was collecting all of these month to month, so I experienced it a lot differently. I didn't know any of the legal reasons. All I knew was that it seemed story-wise that Eggman caused Sonic to mess up, and it ended up ruining some of my favorite characters. While I loved the crossover, I hated the ending for that reason. I definitely lost a bit of interest following the crossover and could understand why avid fans dropped it. I mean, you can see that I've literally collected almost just right up until the finale of the issues just because I just didn't like it as much. I stopped literally right before the end, but to be fair, I was 13. I wasn't smart. I think it was more so of a beginning of the end scenario, and the team worked with what they had. Lightning never strikes the same place twice, and maybe that's what happened here. Maybe the Archie team was too overconfident in another crossover and put them in the hole, but maybe we won't get that answer. Maybe that wasn't the case at all. All I have to say is that the initial first crossover was what felt like the steady decline into cancellation. There's a medical term called terminal lucidity, where there's a sudden increase in energy before someone dies. And from what I feel about the series, it seemingly is what happened here. They made a fantastic and historical crossover for two huge gaming icons, only to lead both series into the grave due to loads of different sources. I know I'm not the only fan that prefers pre-reboot Archie Sonic. And I also know I'm not the only fan that was disappointed when Mega Man saw a view into the future of what could be. I just think that this one major event led to the outcome of the next few years of these series. Especially for the Sonic comics, it was kind of their only move, but it was also kind of disappointing. If you love the post-reboot stuff, power to you. If you love the ending that we got from Mega Man's comic, then even more power to you. I just think that as a longtime fan of the series, this is just where I recognize that the end was in sight. I still love these series and continue to gush about them, but they are not perfect at all. Especially knowing what I do now, I have to look at these series for what they are and accept that this is just how it is and go from there. I won't stop rereading them, but I'll always get a tad bummed when discussing this topic. But now I can read the new Sonic and Mega Man comics and not be sad at all. I'm just kidding. Mega Man is truly dead.